Hello, bold ones, and welcome to the podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. He is a friend, he is an actor and a colleague. His name is Alex Roger Wolf, and he has done over 150 commercial campaigns, industrials, all sorts of things, all kinds of commercials. And today, he's going to tell us how to book that job. These are the jobs that hold us above water in the times in between. So, Alex, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. So nice to have you here today. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm great. So, how
Good.
are you?
I'm very good. Very good. Let's jump in. First of all, Alex, I know you have a very intriguing background. So I just want to talk about that very briefly before we move into some of the more juicy stuff.
Yeah.
But okay, so you were born in America because your dad was the personal assistant, or what was it? Say it again.
No, my parents are German, but I'm born in Oakland, California.
Yeah.
My father was a barber, and my mother was the secretary of Elvis Presley.
The secretary, yes, of Elvis Presley. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
So obviously you must have met him as a little boy.
No, I haven't
You
met.
never did?
No,
Oh, wow.
and we had a lot of pictures, but my father was very jealous, and he ripped them apart. Well, I can understand him. So,
Yeah,
but
he was
my
pretty
mom,
stunning as a young man.
really, he looked really
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I mean, he's still the king. And so my mom has a lot of stories because she signed all his checks and his autographs with Elvis because he was lazy in that field. So he always said, my mother's name is Ruth. So I said, Ruthie, can you come and sign my autographs? And so she did thousands of autographs, and we just checked the internet at eBay, and I said, is it possible that you signed one of these cards? And she was like, no, no, no. Yeah, but this one for sure. So, and they sold them for hundreds of dollars. And it's just like,
Interesting.
come on,
Wow. Do you have like a pile of those in your back room somewhere you can pull out and sell on eBay when you need to?
that's a good idea.
All right. Well, the reason I have you on the podcast today is so that you can tell us a bit about how you were able to book over 150 commercials. So let's talk about that. Tell me,
Yeah.
first of all, yeah, how you got into it. And I know you obviously you're an actor, and commercials is something that we do from time to time.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell me how you got into it and when things started to really change and the bookings became like so regular.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I went to Berlin when the wall came down, and I studied computer science, which was very boring. So I switched to media consulting and with the film. So I studied a lot of things behind the camera, and I did my diplomas, and then I started acting. So, but I had no acting experience at all. I only had a good friend. He was a really, really good photographer, and that is one of the main points that I always tell to the people when I work with them. You need, for the start, really good pictures. And I mean really good pictures, not like, well, they are okay. If you have shit pictures, it's not working. You need really, really, really good, top notch pictures.
Okay, wait, let's break that down a bit. So what to you makes a really top notch picture?
First of all, the quality, really, that you look at the picture, the colors are great, the background is blurry. You're in the front, you have, you're well dressed, you're groomed, and you play, in a way, a role. So you have something to say with your eyes and with your attitude, and the energy has to be full on, and the quality of your quality has to be very high, and the quality of the picture, like when it's just, I had my first pictures were analog, so not digital,
All
and
of us.
yeah, and the
Yeah.
color was great, and I had the luck that my friend was a really, really good photographer, and that just brought gave me the possibility to start and as an actor and getting commercial jobs directly. And then I started because I just I went to my first casting, I immediately got the job. And I thought, well, that's very easy, but it never happened to me again. So that was but I realized every time when I went to a casting, when I did not get the job, I did something different than other actors. I just called the casting agent or the guy who was the caster that day, and I asked him, what could I've done better? And that is really just like the mentality of a pro sportsman or of a pro actor is train on Monday, sleep, get better on Tuesday, sleep, get better on Wednesday, sleep, and just do progress. If I go to the gym today and I come home, I see nothing. So when I go 1 week, I see more or less nothing. But when I go 3 months, I will see definitely change.
Yeah.
So and that is what I see. This people need to work on stuff, and that's next to the pictures. The thing is work on your craft, and just work on your introduction, how to
Yeah.
present yourself. Yeah,
Yeah. 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 That's sort of the dreaded thing, especially with a commercial casting, because we are so often asked to say a few words about ourselves, the dreaded, tell me about yourself question, which
yeah,
is really, it boils down to what's so popular here in Germany, which are the about me's, which
yeah,
it seems like Germany is the only place. I mean, they're sort of spreading around Europe, but they're not, they're definitely not in the States, and they're not all over Europe either. I mean, I think some of the casting directors know about them outside of Germany, but it's very much a German thing. And I like the About Me. I have several of them, actually, that I use in different situations, depending on the type of casting, or even that I'll use in live situations, right? Without like saying this isn't about me. But, sometimes you'll meet someone new and they want to know a funny little story about you. So tell me, obviously, we don't have, I think you have to have not only different versions of your About Me's to match the situation. So, for instance, if I'm going in for a comedic casting or something, I would try and tell something, a little funny story about myself,
yeah,
right? If it's a dramatic story, I would then, a dramatic TV series or film, then I'd probably tell a memory I had about my dad before he died, or what it means to me to be a mother, or something like, But as I say, I have different ones for different things. And then, of course, different lengths. But what do you recommend that people do in a commercial casting? So when you're standing there, because they don't have a lot of time, right? So how can you like bring this down to a succinct thing to intrigue people and like show them who you are?
yeah. The first thing is what I think is when you go to a commercial casting, some people see you in the role. So they want you to be good. They don't want that you just do a shitty casting. They want you to be brilliant. So just you can feel secure and you just, in a way, you fit the look. So when you see the script and there is a storyboard and the guy wears a white t-shirt, then go to the fucking casting, sorry, with a white t-shirt and not with a red one with dots on it.
Yeah.
And just keep one color, groomed, put on concealer, cut your,
Men, you're talking to men now, right? Because women will do this, but men don't always do it. Yeah.
yeah. So men and women, put on concealer, keep it simple. Don't put on jewelry. Um, Look that your fingers are clean and use some hand cream that there maybe glow even when you
Yeah.
just hold them.
Yeah.
Keep the energy high. It's always positive, 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 and just have a short introduction that you say that where you come from, what's your name, what's your agent, what kind of experience do you have. But that's one fault that a lot of people do. This like, I did this movie, I did a short movie, I did that, I did that, I did that, and the guy is sitting there. It
Yeah.
nobody. It's interesting. It's I
Yeah.
want to know the people that decide. I want to see a person that comes there to the casting, is well dressed, fitting the role, high energy, is professional, sympathetic, empathic, can listen what I'm telling to the person if he should play something different. And I want to see that the person has experience. So when you say, I have a lot of experience in front of the camera, and right now there's nothing on air, and I have never worked for the competition, that's great. We don't want to know more. We just want to see the first impression. And then I would also recommend in my spare time, I love to do sports. I eat healthy. I like to meet my friends. I love my dog. I love my family. I go to the gym. I meditate because then I know this guy is not like an idiot that is drinking or taking drugs or smoking a lot. And also a big fault, some people are stuntmen.
Mm.
It's great when you're a stuntman, but don't tell it if it's not needed when you have to go to a commercial casting. Don't tell the people, I'm a stuntman, because then I just think, oh, he's great. But when he's a stuntman, maybe he breaks his arm 2 days before the show, or somebody hits him in the face and he has a blue eye.
Yeah.
So keep your ego down. Just you don't have to tell how great you are, because when you're really great, you don't have to tell anybody that you're great. They will feel that you're great.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
That's some
So,
points, some of many, many, many points, but that's the basic. And
okay.
don't sound like a robot, and you have to work on it. It has to be very, very personal. And you should shine out with the sentence that you're special. I had one guy, he's how do you call it, Feuerwehr?
He's a fireman.
He's a fireman, and he said in the fireman, I'm fireman, and in my spare time I love to spit fire.
Ah,
So
to eat fire. He's a fire eater.
eating and
Yeah.
spitting, and that is something that sticks.
Yeah, for
If you
sure.
have something like this, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, let me just condense this for a sec. So go there, have something that you've practiced, right? So that something so that you are condensed, so you're not rambling on in front of the thing. I always think it's important too not to mention too. They want to know that you're a professional actor, that you're going to be able to deliver what they ask you to deliver. Although it's not always important to be a professional actor. Sometimes, they use models too for those kind of things. But, for when I do a casting, I always say I've done everything from indie films to Tatort and blockbusters, something like that. So that they know that there's a big range of things that I've done, period. They want to know exactly what I've done, they can go look it up. And I think that that's really important, that people are not rambling off all these different projects, right? It's, as you say, it's boring, right?
Yeah.
So to have one or two sentences that are succinct, and I always try and like add in something like, which was like Tatwat was one of my goals. So check, something like that, which shows a little bit of personality and gives me a chance to smile and show off my teeth that my dad paid so much money for and to have straightened. And the other thing is just to be professional and look at what the requirements are for the character and come in character, but obviously not wearing a doctor's coat if it's to be a doctor or something. You want to suggest the character, but not be in character. Right? Did I
Right.
miss anything?
No, it's perfect. What you said, it's absolutely right. And also when you have just like on your resume, your pictures, um, you can look like a policeman or a police woman with a leather jacket and a t-shirt. You don't have
Yeah.
to wear police uniform, because that is then you look like an extra.
Yeah.
And that is always, you see extras, you have to be very careful also how you present yourself with your material, also on social media, because you can just generate really a hype around you if you have cool stuff that you put on social media and nice pictures that you shoot with your mobile phone. But you can destroy it also with crappy pictures. So
Yeah.
be very careful with what you do there. And
Well, I think most of the people who listen to this podcast at any rate are you know, professional actors. Whether they work a ton or not is besides the point, but they know that they need to show up with professional headshots and not just, that their partner took some selfies of them or that they took some selfies of them.
Yeah.
Although I don't think that that is out of the question either. We are all walking around with amazing cameras. And if you have someone who has a good eye, and you know how to crop it and do all the editing of the picture, it can also be okay in a
Yeah.
pinch. Like, for instance, if I were to cut off all my hair tomorrow, right? And I just had shot all these expensive headshots last month. So I'm not going to want to run out and shoot another batch of expensive headshots, but I could then say, well, this is what I look like today,
Yeah.
and this is what
That's
I
why they always ask for actual for an actual casting, for introduction, and for actual Polaroids.
Yeah,
So that's for commercials. That's very common,
yeah.
and to show also your hands and profiles. That is something that for acting is normally not required as well.
No. As a matter of fact, Nancy Bishop, I'm sure you know her, right? One of the
Yes,
biggest
I
casting
went to her.
directors in Europe. That's one of her pet peeves, actually. She says when an actor comes in to a casting and they're, holding up their hands, she's like, oh, geez, okay, this is not a professional actor. This may be a professional person who's done a lot of commercials, but they've not done a lot of acting because, when you're acting, you don't show your hands. There's no reason for that. That's just a very commercial thing.
Yeah.
So uh, I'm wondering if you have any those are I feel like they're good tips, but they're kind of basic, and I wonder if there's not something more that you've been doing that has booked you so many jobs.
Well, I spoke very fast, so I think there were many tips that I just gave in the thing. But let me think about what did I say? I said just read the storyboard really carefully. Come dressed like the the scribbled person is, or the picture. Have your hair like the person, even if it has just like the hair like this. Put it like this. Come in character. Have your Be professional. Be on time. Have your introduction, and it has to be very personal. So have the one sentence that lets you stand out. Have the positive energy, and
Have fun.
have fun,
Yeah.
and enjoy. And when you go, your job is to go there, and you already got an invitation that they think that you fit the role. So you go there and do the casting, and afterwards you go and you let go
Yeah.
and be relaxed. And that is a quote also from Bryan Cranston
Yes.
um, on Breaking Bad. And he said, the moment he learned this, he was free. And for me, that is something that gave me also the freedom. And that's one point that was maybe missing. I just always had a job that gave me my basic income. So I was never desperate for any job. But my job was that I just rented out apartments. I cleaned them and I handed over the keys. And I had a few apartments with my friend. He bought them and I just was the manager. And then I just did it with own apartments. But I was always free to do the castings. But I had the mindset to be quiet. I just, and after um, that, when I do castings, I found for myself the key for me is being in the moment, and meditation, breathing just gave me the freedom
Let
to
go.
to let go, and
Mhm.
to really to glow, also to expand. And that was one of the main keys where I booked the most jobs when I thought I don't need it.
Yeah. Isn't that so true? It's with everything in life. As soon as you lose interest in someone, they have to marry you. It's just how life goes.
Yeah.
I think you touched on a couple of things that are so important there. The one is it's so important for actors to have another source of income that that gives you peace of mind and security, but is also flexible enough so that you can continue to pursue your passion
Yeah.
and, and be available for the opportunities when they do come up. So
Yes.
that's super important. And we all have so many skills that I think so many actors feel like if they're not just acting, then they're not legitimately actors, and that's just not the case anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
it may have been back in the day when Marlon Brando and Jimmy Dean and but it's just not the case anymore. People, even if you're only working in creative industries, people are still multi hyphenates. I'm an actor. I'm a screenwriter. I'm a moderator. I do commercials. I have a podcast. I coach. There are all sorts of things I do, and I think it's important. There's no reason for anybody to starve or turn their nose up at commercials. I
Yeah.
still every once in a while will hear an actor say, "I don't want to do commercials." Why the hell not? They
Yeah.
pay so well. They're usually a lot of fun. The money that they put into a commercial set is usually, I mean, what they pay for a day could finance an entire feature film.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the production values are so high.
Yeah.
And, they're also training grounds for getting better and better and better on camera. And they're
Abs-
fun, well, apart from paying well and all that.
yeah.
So I
Um,
have one little thing. I'm going to give one of my tips away. Maybe I shouldn't do this, but whenever how you're supposed to, show a profile shot and then show the other profile shot. So what I always do is I make sure and look straight back at the camera and smile real big and then go into the other profile shot. So it's not just like da 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 da, So I'm always looking for opportunities to show a bit of myself, to show a bit of that energy that you keep talking about,
yeah.
and to show that I'm fun to work with,
Yeah.
you know?
You should. That's a good point. I always tell the people it's like when you show your hands and you do an introduction. Hi, my name is Alexander Roger Wolf. I'm an actor and blah blah. And now I show you my hands.
Yeah.
Like I still see your face.
Yeah.
I see your face. So
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
Show your hand, and then go in the profile. And when you
Yeah.
go back,
Yeah.
and then you
Yes. I love it.
pretty, and
Yes.
then thanks for having me, and maybe see you soon. And not just
Yeah.
like, I hope you liked it. What the fuck? No. It's
Yeah.
like, no, I don't hope that you liked it.
Of course you liked it.
Yeah. And
Maybe I'm right for it. Maybe I'm not. I hope to see you soon.
maybe
Yeah.
I'm
Perfect.
available. Maybe
Yeah.
somebody else booked me in the meantime.
Yeah.
That's my attitude. And
Right.
about what you said with commercial spots that, no, it's so boring. It's not, in a way, artistically, I'm not artistically, herausgefordert. Challenged,
Challenged. Yeah.
challenged.
Yeah.
So, I did a few commercial spots, that turned out really, really creative and fun. One was for the chocolate Ritter Sport, and, I was like a manager, uh, like a, commercial manager, designer, and I was totally over the top. And I said, Ritter Sport is like, a
The
square,
square. Yeah.
and I told it should be round. And the whole marketing campaign was it should be round, it should be round. And even the boss I was talking to with my team, he had a cup that was a square. So and he was totally bored. And that thing um, was like for Filmhochschule Ludwigsburg. They
Yeah.
don't pay, but they really produce high quality stuff.
Yeah.
And
It's one of the
um,
best film schools in Germany. One of
yeah,
the top three.
and I and I did that spot for €0, but then there was the one of 2 spots in 50 years of the school that was sold to the company. It was showed in cinemas. Casters saw this, and they put me after that into a Netflix series, um,
Wow.
called The Same Sky with Tom Schilling and Ben Becker. And so I got
Fantastic.
a lot of acting roles because of my commercial stuff. And and I mixed it in my demo reel and my short about me. There's a big mixture out of stuff that was shot in for cinema or television, but high quality, and high quality commercials, and also stuff that I recorded on my own with a friend with a good camera, because you can record in high quality stuff.
Absolutely.
So
100%.
don't, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, yeah, there's a lot in there. I think I love that in spite of the fact that you work a lot, you still go work with film schools, which I do as well. If I have the time and the project is interesting to me, I will definitely go do it.
yeah,
The other thing is so many commercial directors go on to become feature film directors, TV
yeah.
series directors, and
Vice versa.
that's exactly what I just wanted to say. And vice versa. So many huge directors will go and direct a commercial. So you never know. You honestly never know where something could lead. And that's a perfect example of you getting a role on a Netflix series from a commercial that you did
Yeah,
for, a film university.
yeah,
And again, I think you have to always be careful about the quality of the projects. But luckily in Germany, and if you have the good fortune to live in California, New York, or Chicago, or Vancouver, other places where the film schools are really, really good, people, you should always be doing these things. These are the future generation of filmmakers, for one, and you're making these connections and you should be nurturing them. But you can have so much fun because they know their shit. They've got
mhm,
great equipment, amazing equipment, better than a lot of independent films, frankly,
yeah,
you know. And they all are they're not just like the directors don't only know about directing. They know how to do the sound, they know how to do the camera. They've done all that. They all have to change roles so much that they're all
yeah,
it's a well-oiled machine. I'll
yeah,
put it that way.
yeah. There
Yeah.
is, I went to this thing at the Filmhochschule, Ludwigsburg. There was one guy, he picked me up on the airport, and his name is Johannes Janke. And, I talked to him, and we worked 2 days together, and he was the producer. And I said, "How old are you?" And he's like, 21. And I told him, and I don't do that very often, but he was like one of the 3 or 4 people in my life. I told him, "You're gonna be very successful. You're gonna win a lot of prizes." And he won, like, 4 years later, he won, at the Berlinale, the Publikumspreis, the award of the viewers, with, Julia Jentsch,
Oh,
the
wow. Okay.
the film
Yeah.
about abortion. And, the director, Daniel Borghetti, of the commercial, he was also really good. He won also several prizes, and I always keep in contact with them, and they just connected me to other film projects where I got more than this one role for Netflix. I got various roles out of this stuff, and that was always my goal, to go to commercial spots, to earn money, to learn, to know the people, and to try my acting skills, because most people that go to commercial castings, they cannot act. So
Mm.
if you're an actor and you can act, you have a big chance to get to book the role.
Mm. I'm curious, what was it that stood out about the kid who picked you up at the airport that you knew he was going to be a big success?
He was very creative
Mhm.
and very structured,
Mm.
and
Yeah, it's an unusual combination.
and he knew how to talk to people also. So he was very kind, and I don't know, I have the feeling he wanted to fulfill his dream and to reach his goals.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, that sort of brings me to my next point, because I know that one of your biggest passions is tennis.
Yeah,
And that,
really.
yeah, and that you just finished writing a book about how acting relates to tennis, or how tennis relates to acting? Not
It
really.
is a well, I had the luck that I wrote 3 books the last 3 years, and
Ah,
one was a bestseller, and it's called How to Present Yourself Successfully at Commercial Castings and Film Castings and How to Record Great Self-Tapes.
yeah.
You can get it in German and in English. And, then I had another book about video calls that nobody, not one person, I think my mother bought 1 copy because I said, "Mom, please buy 1 copy." And I thought the whole world needs this, how to present yourself successfully at video calls and online meetings. Nobody bought it. So that and then the 3rd book I finished just 1 week ago is called The Art of Tennis: Play Creatively, Relaxed, and Focused. And it's about, one part is meditation, being in the moment, breathing, and the other thing is acting techniques. And I used a lot the Michael Chekhov method for visualization. And and it was quite interesting because I wrote the book for myself. I wanted to just work on my game as a tennis player because I play really a lot. I played very high leagues, and I also coach people. Just like once a week, I go and just teach people on a tennis court, like 3 hours. And I thought, how could I incorporate elements of the Michael Chekhov technique in tennis? And actually, it works. Really, it works well. And
Interesting.
I talked to them, and I'm right now at the Michael Chekhov School in New York, and I do all the online courses with really good coaches like Ragnar Freidank, Lena Petit, Ted Pugh, Fern Sloan, and they said one of their most beloved books is The Inner Game of Tennis, which is one of the oldest books about mental tennis. And you have this book also in other versions now. It's the inner game of music, the inner game of stress. So it's basically about the one self here that wants to play is fighting with the guy that says, well, if you play, you have to win.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Like,
that's what and I think tennis or sports has a lot of things in common with acting, because when you go to a casting and you are free, you only want to play, then there's the chance very high that you get the role. If you come there and you only want to deliver and I need to get the job, then it will be difficult.
yeah. 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 I mean, it's, easier said than done when you really want a role. But I do try and approach, especially when it's an in-room casting. I recently had a callback for a really big part, which unfortunately I did not get. But I went in 2 things that I did. One, obviously, I was very nervous. It was for one of Germany's top directors, for one of Germany's top film production companies, and it would have been a huge role in this film. So, and it was a callback. So I knew they liked me. I knew I was, that I was already good enough to get the role, and now it's just down to nuance and whether I can take direction and whether I work with the rest of the cast and all those little things that are sort of beyond your control, right? And whether you can actually deliver when you're on set as opposed to at home from a self tape. But one of the things was, the feelings that we get when we're nervous are the same feelings that we have when we're excited.
Yes.
So, that quickened heart rate, maybe you have some butterflies in your stomach or a little bit of shortness of breath. All those kind of things are the exact same feelings you get when you're super excited about something. So, as whenever I started to feel like that in my stomach, I would just say, I'm so excited to myself, to instead of saying I'm so nervous. Because I think we can get into this mental loop of feeding the negativity as opposed
Yeah.
to feeding the positivity. So that was one thing. And the other thing I did was I wanted to approach this casting, this audition, as if it were a workshop.
Mhm.
So going in with the idea of I'm just going to be loose and play and see what happens. And for the most part, I was able to do it. In the beginning, I was a little bit nervous in spite of myself telling myself that it was, exciting and all that. But once that sort of settled down and I did, and I felt really good about my audition. I mean, we spent an hour and a half together. So I know if he didn't like me, I would have been out of there in 20 minutes and everything. So I felt very good about it. Um, but I think that that's so important because actors do some of their best work at workshops,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it's so true. And if you can sort of, and why? Because we're loose, we're there to play, we're there to experiment. We know we're in a safe space. We're not going to be judged. But why should that be any different in any other environment? Like, I'll give you another example for another area that I'm extremely comfortable because I've done probably 30 years of it now is voice work,
Mhm.
right? So a lot of times I'll be sitting in this studio in front of a mic and I'll, make a mistake or I'll stutter or I'll stumble over a line. I think a lot of beginners, something like that will trip them up. Whereas if you're comfortable, you're just like, "Whoop, okay,
Yeah.
once more from the top. And it's that same kind of an attitude in a workshop, right? Where if you forget a line, you can be standing there and you'll call for a line. And it's not a big deal,
Yeah.
right? You just sort of pick up where you were for the most part. Some people let it get to them in a workshop environment as well.
And you can do that on a film set too.
Yeah.
Uh, And if you're in an environment where you feel comfortable, you will act freely. So if you are in a series and you turn up every day, so it becomes just like normal for you. So if you just pass that stage of getting cast, everything is much easier. So, but to get cast, I think there's a nice sentence I always like to quote. Sadly, it's not from me, but it's one of the greatest quotes, I think, is amateurs train to get it right. Pros train that they can't do it wrong. And and that is just like the two keys to become relaxed and free is practice, 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 and learning to let go.
Yeah. So
And
important.
and then
Such good
because
advice.
that's something that is often forgotten. It's that people say, "Yeah, you have to meditate, you have to be free, you have to," yeah, but you have to do something for it. You
Yeah.
have you have to put in the work, and that is just like every day. And even if it's just like 5 minutes, every
So
month,
now what work are you talking about?
just practicing, working on your voice, working on your body, working on your um, mindset, working on a monologue, stuff like that. So, and put in the work. There's a nice speaking in Germany it's called, the translation is every mosquito bites. Every small bite works. It just adds up. So, and that's the thing that I just really think that is most important.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. I think, that everything that we do is cumulative. Even being lazy is cumulative. If you let a day slide, to use your sports metaphor from before, if you're not working out, well, you're
Yeah.
not going to, but if you're not working out for 3 months, you're definitely going to see and feel that. So
Yeah.
it's the same thing with working on your career, right? These are small things that you can be doing, not only to be working on your skills, which we obviously need to be working on, but also to be working on the business side of things, the networking and the branding.
Yeah.
This is something that goes back to having the great pictures. You need to make sure, one of my things that I always say is your marketing materials must match your aspirations, right? They shouldn't be representative of where you are, but where you want to go.
Yeah. And you should always think about, how would I look at this pictures when I would be the producer that has to invest money and needs to do a great film? Do you think that the material that you're seeing right now is up to that standard? And be really honest to yourself. And in most parts, you must say, no, it's not. And it's small. It's like, just don't be self-destructive. Just like, I know people that always say everything they do, it's always not good. That's not the right way. But you should have like a good surrounding with a few people where you can ask them, is this good or not? Should I
Yeah.
do more?
Yeah.
Should listen to them
Absolutely.
and be careful who you ask, because if there are people that are envious, they will always tell you that you're shit. So, but just, you are the product of the 5 people that are your around yourself. So you be together with 5 idiots, you're an idiot. You will become one. You're together with 5 millionaires, you will get richer. So pick carefully the people that are around you.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe in that so much. And I also think it's so important and such an overlooked aspect of being an actor, but other actors are allies. They're not our enemies. But as you say, choose carefully.
Yeah. Very careful.
Very carefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's honestly no reason, especially when you're talking about people our age, right? I mean, in the 20s, people are sort of unformed a lot of times. And but I think by the time you get to our age, we're very formed. We know who we are. We
Right.
know what we have to
You're older
20,
than 20?
24,
Yeah.
25.
Okay. Yeah, you formed a little bit, but you just have a long way to go until you come to my age.
Right. Schmeikler.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's an interesting thing, and it's hard sometimes not to be a little bit envious if you see someone getting roles that you feel like you're right for. But as much as filmmaking is a team sport, your career is, you're not competing against anyone.
Yeah.
This is a one-man race, a one-woman race.
Yeah.
The only person that you should be competing with is who you were yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
And the only person that you should be looking towards is who you're going to be tomorrow.
Yeah. Doesn't matter who you are right now. It matters who you become in the future.
Yeah. Well, I think it does matter who you are now, but I
Yeah.
think you always have the choice. And I always used to tell my son whenever he messed up, I was like, every minute is another chance to make a different decision.
Yeah.
Just because you made a bad decision yesterday or last night or this morning, it doesn't mean you have to make another bad decision. You can
Right.
decide to do better.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, didn't always work, but he's on
No,
the right road now. So
I'm just
eventually it worked. Cumulative. It was cumulative. So tell me, what are 3 things that you think that can be taken from tennis and applied to acting?
I think it's important, first of all, if you go on stage or if you go on a tennis court or any other sport, it's good to know who you are. So I have always a figure that I just carry around with me. And that is John McEnroe,
Oh,
and
very
and
handsome John McEnroe.
and John McEnroe is my idol since I'm a child, and he really has all the stuff. I don't know. He has the Charaktereigenschaften.
He has all the characteristics.
He has all the characteristics that I think also fit to my life. He's on the one hand, he's left-handed. He's a very creative person and has a really strong temper, as we all know. And but he's also an actor,
Oh, I didn't
and
know that.
he acted with Jack Nicholson, great roles. He did as he's a very good voiceover actor. He did for a
Okay.
Netflix series. You hear always the voice of John McEnroe. I forgot the name of the series, but it's great. He's married to Patti Smith,
The singer, yeah.
singer, and he has 2 art galleries in New York. And he's a musician. He plays guitar and sings, and
Ah,
he
he's like
plays
a
really
Renaissance man. I didn't know that.
He's
Okay.
he plays really good. So that is one thing. Know who you are and just have something that represents and always reminds you about who you are.
Yeah.
And
So just for those of you who are listening instead of watching this, because some people listen on Spotify or Apple, he was holding up a little figurine, like a little anime type figurine
yeah,
of John McEnroe. Yeah.
right, just like a small plastic figure, just like and
Yeah.
with a really big head. I have another one. It's also with Freddie Mercury.
Oh wow, I love that.
Yeah, and there's I think it's called Fibu. The brand. It's expensive. They cost 10 euros. They look very art. They
Pop
inspire.
art, definitely
They
pop
just like
art. Yeah.
they inspire me. So
Yeah.
there's one thing. Find out who you are, what inspires you, and the second thing is just like uh yeah, it's all about also the characteristics. I think you can play on a tennis court very creatively. You can also work. You can work on a tennis court. The other players may be really talented and good, but you can outwork him if you have good stamina. So that in the end, talent is not enough. So you have to work. That's what you can just also take from a tennis court to acting. And that would be, I think I said more than three things already.
Did you?
Or
You know what I thought you were going to say for sure, but you didn't even mention was discipline.
yeah, that is outworking for me. Discipline is
Okay.
you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So you need discipline. Um, and I played this morning and later on I will teach because Wednesday is the tennis day. I play in the morning. I just go to the gym. I just now we have this lovely interview and later on I just train 2 hours or three maybe other people.
Yeah.
And I always tell them just like, for instance, that's why I wrote this book about the art of tennis because I tell people that are really they come there, they want to show me that they are great, that they are motivated, but then they are tense. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, if you want to play great, you have to loosen up. You have to just imagine there is an atmosphere. You know, Michael Chekhov. There is an atmosphere surrounding you on this tennis court of lightness.
Yeah.
Let this stuff you. You are trained. I see that can you immediately soak it up, and it works. It works. Um, and that is something also how to work on your nervousness and when you're tense. What can you do to loosen up? Yeah, there's many things you can do
So like what? Give us a couple examples.
for to loosen up.
Yeah.
Well, there is um, the one thing that I said, an atmosphere.
Mm. So
The other
imagining an atmosphere. So what should I be doing if I'm imagining an atmosphere? Imagining like myself laying on a beach or
no, you just like
swinging in a hammock or
I always do it like this. I walk on a tennis court or when I do a casting and I think I'm surrounded by like an atmosphere that is like a fog,
ah.
a golden
Ah,
fog
interesting. Okay, so
that
yeah, like
that
an energy field
yeah,
almost.
like an energy field that comes into me and I start also glowing inside. It's glowing outside and I let it in. And on the other hand, you can also just like you could imagine there's an atmosphere of nervousness, then you would get even more nervous. So it's you decide what you do. That is one thing to loosen up. The other thing is you could take like a an imaginary center. It's also Michael Chekhov. I could imagine myself as how do you say this? Um, um, there is this puppets they have where they
Oh,
shoot air
marionette. Marionette.
like it. No, they shoot air through it. And it's like it's all wobbly. This
Oh, I don't know what those things are called. I know what you're talking about.
it's in
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
German. It's called Flattermännchen.
Ah, okay. I have no idea, but you always see them at the used car sales
Right.
lots.
So
Yeah.
and I imagine I'm just like a wobbly, relaxed figure that is going wherever the wind is going, and I just imagine that there are feathers flying through my body. And in between, when I'm just when I try to loosen up, I focus on one thing. I focus on the ball. When the ball hits the ground, I say bounce, and when I hit the ball, I say hit in my head. So it's
Mm.
bounce, hit. And in between of the points, I breathe. I do this box breathing. I walk 3 steps. I inhale. I hold the breath for 3 steps. I breathe out for 3 steps.
And you're
And
doing this while you're playing?
between the points,
Between the Okay, so but this has got to have become so part of your routine that you're not are you still thinking about it as you
it's
do it?
ritual. It's rituals, and you
Yeah,
have to
rituals. Okay.
practice it all the time. And when I teach people, I teach them about 30 minutes, the techniques. You can only teach 2 things per lesson in acting or also for tennis. It's called in Germany eins, zwei, vorbei. 1, 2, it's over. More or less, you don't get it in your
Right,
brain.
right.
And then the other half hour, also when I teach people with acting, it's about we just go in the situation. We practice now. We just try to learn these rituals,
Yeah, yeah.
to hammer them in their head and in their soul.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's so true. There are so many things that you and I both have been acting for a long time. So there are so many things that we've made organic, right? That are just it's like driving a car. I'm not
Yeah.
thinking about putting the key in the ignition and putting my foot on the clutch and I just get in and I do it and I could be eating at the same time and on the phone and putting in my directions in the map because driving is second nature.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything that you can do to the technique part of it to make that second nature is more helpful. And yeah, you're right. The only way you're going to be able to do that is through practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every
Well,
day.
well, Alex, this has been an absolute pleasure. What are there any more takeaways that you would like to say, or you think we've said it all?
I think we said it all. We said it
Okay.
all.
Well, if people would like to know more about your techniques or would like to learn about training with you or any of that, where can they find you?
Well, there's a web page called getthejob.de, and /en is also for the English part of. So I work all over the world. I worked in Cape Town with acting schools and model schools, and I was also in LA, and I do a lot in Germany, and also a lot of stuff in Spain. So, but that is basically the web page where you find me and all my books and stuff. And I think you will put it in the show notes. It's the
Of
easiest.
course, I will. And do you want people to follow you on Instagram or
Oh,
anything like
yes,
that?
great. Yeah.
What's
Alex
your
Rodrigo. Alex.
Alex Roger Wolf?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much. And all of you, I hope that you got a lot out of this episode. There were a lot of knowledge bombs dropped by Alex. So you may have to listen to this one more than once. Until next time, you stay your bold and beautiful self. Bye-bye.